Hey everyone, today, whether you know it or not, your customers, your vendors, and you are having money stolen from your bank accounts, from your credit cards, using your very own email. Yeah, your email. And you don't even know it, right? And what you don't know is that it's happening more and more often than you think. You see, what's happening are hackers are actually injecting themselves into your email conversations, your active email conversations, and putting in bank account and credit card information that's fake and goes to their accounts. And so what happens is your connections, those people that you're talking to, can send money or fall for the emails that look like they've come from you. So it's happening all the time. But before we get to really what's the deep of what's going on, we're going to talk about all of that, what's actually going on, the various scenarios, and what you can do to stop it. So I'm Jim Gast, and this is No Law Firm Left Behind. We want to thank you for listening or watching, whichever one you're doing. And what we're here to do on No Law Firm Left Behind is help you, your law firm, be more competitive, help your staff and your attorneys be more productive, and ultimately to help get customers calling, because that's really what it comes down to for business, right? We got to get our customers calling. And so I'm joined today with Dave and Vinny. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Doing good.
Yep. This is a really exciting topic, and really is something that's scary. And I know we all know it's happening more and more. So, Vinny, would you mind just kind of getting right into it and tell people what's happening?
Yeah. So I've been pushing Jim to get this topic on the list for quite some time, right? Out there, the hackers are constantly breaching accounts, right? Whether it be your customers' accounts or your vendors' accounts. And they're getting very crafty in what they do. They monitor those mailboxes to look for things that are that they can inject themselves in, like Jim said already, right? Mm-hmm. They look for conversations, they look for emails, and then they start crafting their own replies. And it could be potentially using your email address, right? That's what really concerns us, is that your customers are or your vendors are potentially losing money, and you're potentially losing money when your email is being used. And it doesn't even have to be coming from your mailbox, right? Your account doesn't even have to be breached at that point. They could be impersonating you by breaching somebody else's mailbox, or they can be spoofing your email address. And that happens on a daily basis. Bad actors are doing this daily. They're doing this across the board. No place is too big or too small. If they can make a buck, they make a buck. And that's what they're looking to do.
A quick 15, 17, 100,000, not 100,000 is quick, but you're going to see a quick $10,000 to $20,000 hit on somebody paying a bill potentially, or you paying a bill. It's happening all the time, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people fail to realize is that it doesn't always involve somebody's account being breached. Mm-hmm. Okay. There are a lot of ways that are completely outside your email system that can have a negative effect. So you don't necessarily have to have a hacker in order to, get into your system in order to fall victim to this problem. We got a question actually coming in from Raul. I apologize, Raul, if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. And he asks, how do I get these to stop? I think we're going to get to that, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Great.
We want to set up the scenarios and kind of tell you what's going on, because there's a number of different types of scenarios. But we're going to definitely cover in less than 10 minutes what's happening and how to stop it. So, even Ben Shore today, who is a Microsoft employee, runs Office 365 for lawyers on Facebook. Great group. If you're not a member, go join that group too. Even he put out a post today. What I thought was really interesting is that even any person in your organization can actually have their email account hacked, right? And it's easy to fall prey to get those credentials for like a Microsoft 365 or something like that. And so that once that person is hacked, then that account can be used to send emails out to the world, right? Or an inside hack. Make it look like an inside job, right? Asking, hey, what's the account number for so and so, or can you send money to this account? This is one that people don't talk about a whole lot, I don't think.
Yeah, and I quickly want to define something because
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't done a really good job at it yet. An impersonation attack, right? Is someone sending an email pretending to be you or someone in your organization. Usually, they pick somebody high up in the organization that people would respond to, right? Or a contact that is like a salesperson or a manager or such, where the response is more likely to be received because of the title of that person. And so the impersonation, again, like Dave said, it doesn't have to include a breach, right? They could be using Gmail, or they could be using any other service out there to impersonate a person in your organization and target people within your organization, or target your customers, or target your vendors, right? And if the person receiving that email is not savvy enough, they can easily fall prey to that.
I don't even think it's savviness now, right? I mean, when I pull up to a stop sign, it's not savvy to stop at the stop sign, right? I know it's a stop sign. So if we take that and say that's a foregone conclusion that I have to follow that rule, right? Well, we've always said you need to suspect email. So you don't have to be savvy. You just have to be paying attention.
And that's what I mean by that is that you it's no longer the time where we can just open anything, right? Email is not safe, as safe as it, or innocent as it used to be, right? And so, I mean, this started decades ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to be aware. Our users need to be aware, and in that sense, I mean, savvy, right? They need to be aware of what the dangers are.
Just to go ahead. I'm sorry.
And let me just jump in for a second here. And I don't want to jump the gun on how do we stop these, but there needs to be some additional checks and balances put in place for certain items. So on some level, Vinny, you're absolutely right. The users need to have a certain level of savviness. Mm-hmm. At the same time, organizations do as well.
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump the gun on that, but I just want to make sure that it's not just at the user level. The organization itself also has to have sets of rules. Hey, if X happens, then we better do Y to confirm, etc.
So let's go through a real world type of example, right? Hypothetical, but real world type of example.
Sure.
I'm sitting here and I'm a vendor, right? And I'm dealing with you, Dave, right? And we're talking about I need to pay your bill, okay? I'm a vendor, or you need to pay my bill. Sorry, in reverse. You need to pay my bill. So I'm going to send you a bill, Dave, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're going to respond back to me saying, great, here here's how much you owe us, or something like that. Well, I don't want to send you a check. I want to wire it to you, or can I use a credit card, right? And so what could happen is a hacker could be sitting there monitoring either side of that email conversation, the vendor side of the conversation or the customer side of that conversation, right? How they're monitoring it, there's a multitude of ways in which they could be monitoring it. They could have hacked the vendor's email account. They could have hacked the customer's email account, or
they could have just gotten lucky and sent things at the beginning of the month when people get invoices.
Yeah. Now this is a situation when it's really a hack. Let's talk about a scenario where it's really a hack. Okay. And so I'm the vendor and I say, yes, you can pay my account. Here's my credit card info. Here's our account, ACH or wire transfer or whatever, right? Okay. Or I'm the customer and saying, I can use this credit card. Okay. You can use this credit card, Mr. Vendor. Am I making sense so far, guys? And so maybe I send them as a hacker from the vendor. I say I put in a fake link that goes to a fake wire transfer or credit card payment gateway that goes to the hacker's account instead. But if the customer wasn't paying attention, how would they know? I had this happen last week where I had to pay a bill, and I normally just go right to the link, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call just to make sure that this link is the valid link. Didn't use a telephone number, by the way.
I just had the exact same thing, and Jim, I'm still waiting for a response from you. I got an email from our Verizon rep.
Oh yeah,
saying, "Hey, it's time to upgrade your phone, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't you go ahead and email me back, and we'll start talking." I sent a message to you, Jim, saying, "Hey, who's our actual account manager?"
Yep.
I think this is legit because I do think I'm eligible for an upgrade, but I don't know this person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to talk about my Verizon account with them.
Yep, and I do the same. Even if I get something that looks like it came from Jim and says, "Go sign up for this."
Right.
Again, I just have it in my mind. I always double check on something that's out of the ordinary. Right?
Now let's get to, I think Raul. I think that's pronounced. Our apologies. Let's get to that situation where there hasn't been a hack. Okay, let's get to that impersonation. So I'm a hacker, and I know billing in law firms or businesses happens the beginning of the month. Okay, and I'm going to go out and buy an email, a domain that looks like yourlawfirm.com, but an O is a 0 or something along those lines. Okay, or maybe your domain has an L or an I, and I replaced my email address looking like it's a capital L or something like that, but it's really an I.
I've seen it where people just throw. We have, where they would have double letters or something like that. They might have a pair of
next to each other because I got bad eyes.
And they just put a third one in, and
yes.
It's so easy to just read right past that.
And so that's specifically an impersonation attempt, is what that's called, guys. That's not a real hack.
Yeah, that's a domain impersonation. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Or for that matter, I could just go out and get a Gmail, just start opening up a Gmail, and the display name that shows is the name of my boss, which anybody can get from LinkedIn or the website, right, guys?
Yep. So the topic today doesn't really cover how to stop those types of attacks, right? But I'm going to quickly say that services like Mimecast or services like Microsoft Advanced Threat, or actually it's called Microsoft Defender now, right? But it's the Advanced Threat Protection, in which they include the AI to block those types of impersonation attempts.
If you're going to look for a solution, look for stop impersonation attempts is really what it's called. And almost every good email security solution out there should have that today. But let's get to the very specifics of how to stop the ones where people have really been attacked, right? Vinny, I know this is what you've been wanting to talk about. It's your floor.
Yeah. So again, our goal is to talk about ways to minimize these types of attacks, right? I don't think there's a 100% foolproof way to completely block a breach or anything like that, right? But we want to minimize the opportunities, lower the risk of those types of things happening. And one really effective way, one really, really good way that everyone should be doing across the board is two-factor authentication. We've been really pushing it to our clients. We've been implementing it in different ways, as a matter of fact. In some cases, we're using a product called Duo, which is a great product because it can be implemented across the board. You can use that on your computers, you can use that on your terminal servers, you can use that on your VPN, and you can use it on your Microsoft accounts, right? Or in some cases, if depending on the type of setup that the customer has, we may just implement the Microsoft two-factor authentication that's included with their licensing, right? Yeah. And again, what two-factor authentication is, right, is just like a second form of ID. So you log in with your regular password, and then you're prompted for a second form of ID. The advantage of that second form, though, is that it's constantly changing, right? Yeah. Every 30 seconds, it's usually a 6-digit code, and there's different ways you can do it. You can do it through an app, you can do it through a push, you can do it through an email, right? I always recommend the app or the push, but that 6-digit code changes every 30 seconds. So even if someone were to get your password, because it was compromised somewhere along the line, right? That second form of ID is always changing, and it's very difficult to overcome that.
Dave, let me ask you this based on what Vinny's saying here. I'm sitting here at my computer and I'm working, okay?
Mhm.
And my organization has implemented multi-factor authentication.
Right.
And I have an app for it on my phone
Mhm.
that pops up, says, "Hey, do you want to log in?" I'm sitting here and I'm working, and all of a sudden I'm not trying to log anywhere, but I get this prompt on my phone saying, "Hey, can you approve your access?" What could that tell us?
It tells me that there's a very high likelihood that someone has compromised my primary authentication credentials for that account.
Which is like a password. They've got your password most likely.
Basically, they got your password, whether it be through data that was leaked somewhere in the dark web or through a brute force attack, whatever it might be. It's definitely a cause for concern. I don't. If that happens, I don't completely freak out, but I
No.
definitely go take mitigating steps. At that point, I would go and I would change that password. And even though you shouldn't be doing this anywhere else, I'm using those passwords. But
Yeah.
we'll save that for another discussion.
Don't duplicate passwords. Vinny, what would I do with that prompt? Would I approve it or decline it?
Obviously, if it's not from me, you don't want to approve it,
Right.
right?
No, that would be bad.
And again, like Dave said, immediately I would be changing my passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, of course, should they tell anyone?
I think definitely notify your IT because then at least the minimum effort should be done to investigate. Are there any other accounts being accessed from, even like weird locations, right? Are there, we as IT people, we don't want to deal with security breaches. And so we want to make sure that we're on the lookout for those types of things. And we will do here at SpliceNet, we will do an investigation as far as what can we tell that has been compromised.
Yeah.
Basically, if we come across any sort of indicator of compromise for one user, we have a protocol that we go through to say, we only have evidence to suggest that perhaps one account was breached, but we have to be safe. We have to go and we have to circle the wagons and make sure that there's nothing else fishy going on out there. And
you make worst case scenario assumptions is what we do.
But as IT, we can't do that unless the end user tells us that something strange has happened.
And it's typical that a breach will not be found out until later, right? And
months and months.
And most of the time, by that time, multiple accounts have been compromised. And so that's why we most of the time, by that time, multiple accounts have been compromised because they're doing at that point, they're doing their internal social engineering, right? And they're collecting more as much information as they can. They're doing their impersonation attacks and their phishing attacks against internal people from internal people. And so
most threat actors spend a significant amount of time performing reconnaissance and staying off the radar. They don't want to trigger anything to anybody until it's time to do whatever the bad thing that they really set out to do is.
Yep. So, guys, we've got a minute left. Dave, Vinny, this is a very serious topic. And why is it serious? This isn't the big ransomware attack. Although multi-factor authentication can protect you from a ransomware attack, correct?
Yeah.
Could help
in a sense.
Yeah. So I got a question. Allison's email was hacked this weekend. It's fixed now. You know what? That's personal accounts can actually. Let's mention personal accounts, non-business accounts. You can multi-factor authenticate Gmail, Outlook.com. You could multi-factor authenticate your Facebook if you wanted to, and you should consider it.
I tell everyone, every account that you have, see if second factor authentication is available. If it is, enable it, period, end of story.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to definitely save somebody some money down the road that
Mhm.
potentially may not be collectible somewhere, in their life. I had a friend who had a hack like that in her personal life, and she lost personally something like along the lines of $25,000 that she never, and years of credit monitoring and credit rebuilding and so on and so forth. So, guys, great topic. I really appreciate it. Any last things do you want to add?
Yep. I just want to say just some quick things. There are multiple applications out there that you can use for the multi-factor authentication. Obviously, if you are working with us, we're going to put something like the Azure Authenticator or the Duo applications out there for you. If you want to do something on your own for your personal accounts, there's a lot of great options out there. Google has an option, Google Authenticator. Also, LastPass has an authenticator out there. Just to mention a couple, right? I'm not saying that one's better than the
Another
other.
one that I've used in the past was Authy.
Authy, yep. I was just going to mention Authy. I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but just grab one. Grab one of those and start using it, and that way you can start protecting yourselves. Like Jim said and Dave said, any service that you can set up two-factor authentication, start doing it.
Bank accounts, keep bank account logins. Definitely one of them. Guys, thanks a lot. Great topic. Really appreciate it. As always, No Law Firm Left Behind is on Tuesdays at 10:30 Eastern. You can find us in our No Law Firm Left Behind group on LinkedIn. There is that horrible URL. Don't bother writing it down. Just grab your phone and take a picture of it, or you can catch the replay of this and grab it. If you just go to No Law Firm Left Behind and search, LinkedIn and search No Law Firm Left Behind, you'll find the group and ask to join it. You'll find us on YouTube as well as Facebook, but all the major podcast platforms, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If you want a real quick QR code to grab the actual link to all of our podcasts, and you can go to this is a list of them. Just take a picture of this QR code and it'll link you to it. So again, thanks a lot, guys. Great topic. Talk next week.
All right. See you.